The woman that Trump is going for is going to be subservient, and like everybody else, is going to be more or less a lackey of his. And remember, people are transactions to Donald Trump. They're not people. He's a full-on misogynist. No question about that. It's almost an exaggeration. It's almost a male overbite. It's like a hyper-masculinity to try to prove something to somebody. I look at him and I say, this guy's weird about sex. He's weird about women. I don't know what he is, but I think he's weird.
Now we have something very exciting and very special for you. It's a 4-part series on Trump's women. Now, we've debated what to call this, and we've decided that it should be a spin-off of Inside Trump's Head. So we're calling it Inside Trump's Women. And here to flesh out Trump's women for you, to bring alive those characters that we really only see on Instagram, is one of the Daily Beast's best writers, Nell Scovell. But first, before we get to it, who better to ask for real insight into Trump's relationships with women than Anthony Scaramucci. He's former White House communications director, admittedly not for very long, but he spent a lot of time on the campaign trail with him, and he's observed Trump, well, frankly, up close in more ways than one. So, Anthony, what is Trump like to work for if you're a woman? It's hard not to notice that the people that have been fired from the cabinet, the only people who've been fired from the cabinet are all women. We saw Jeanine Pirro getting yelled at by the president.
Yeah.
Is he different to work for if you're a woman than if you're a man?
Well, if you look like Mrs. Doubtfire, he's going to treat you very differently than if you look like a Sports Illustrated model, right? So he's a very aesthetic guy, let's just be honest, right? So Mrs. Doubtfire can get along with him. If you
mean Susie Wiles by
you
Mrs.
said that.
Doubtfire.
I didn't say that.
Well, I'm assuming that's
Joanna
what
said that. I didn't say that.
Or Linda McMahon. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're
Which
looking
one
like
is it,
Mrs.
Anthony?
Doubtfire, you're probably going to be okay. Okay. If you you're Pam Bondi, she didn't get fired for her looks. She got fired for her naivete. She actually thought that they were going to release the Epstein files. She really believed that. She was like, well, Trump was like, hey, idiot, I was just campaigning on that. I'm in the Epstein files. We can't release the Epstein files. What the hell's wrong with you? Right? So, it depends on what you're doing, right? So Trump wants you to be a full-on lapdog. And so Trump's attitude is, you got here because of me. We won the presidency because of me. You had nothing to do with it. Even your campaign money had nothing to do with it. I dragged everybody here. And so you are at my beck and call. You will do exactly what I say, exactly when I say it. Todd Blanche's got that memo. Okay, Susie Wiles has that memo. I mean, Susie Wiles dropped the dime on him in the Vanity Fair article because she's got to go back to being a lobbyist at some point. So she'll point to the Vanity Fair article. But the truth of the matter is, if you're a Trump lackey in Trump 2, you stay in business with Trump. He treats everybody with a level of disdain. If they don't understand, it's 100% about him. And you get fired from there if you think it could be about the federal government, or you think it could be about the judicial process, or the legislative process, or the checks and balances. If you think it's about any of those things, you're probably going to get fired.
But to get his attention, you have to look a certain way, but obviously he's surrounded at Mar-a-Lago with women who look that certain way. What sort of personality traits does he find attractive?
Well, I think he emphasizes aesthetics. I'm not saying that, that's necessarily right or wrong. He's always telling, he's sort of weird with men. I think, you're talking about Arnold Palmer schlong. He's sort of weird. And this guy's strong and handsome. And that UFC fighter's super muscular. I don't know. It sounds like a pretty repressed guy to me. He's probably repressed in some ways. And then he's got all these people, if you remember Tom Wolfe's book, The Bonfire of the Vanities, there was a great description of these socialites. He called them social x-rays, where they got to get so thin that they got to look a certain way. And so now we've got Mar-a-Lago face plus the social x-ray description from Tom Wolfe. And those are the people that he hangs out with. And so I think it's weird, but I also think those people are weird. But I mean, does anybody think that Trump is normal when it comes to sexuality or sex? Nobody could think that. He's not normal, and the hyper masculinity is probably a tell of something deeper and something very repressed about the guy.
Joanna had a very smart idea about who was patient zero for Mar-a-Lago face.
Okay.
Who do you think it was?
I haven't really thought about it. I don't know. Who is it, Joanna? Go ahead. I want to hear it.
I think it's Ivana. It's Ivana.
Ivana.
Right? Did you ever come across Ivana, Anthony?
I met her when I was at an Andrea Bocelli fundraiser, and she was there. I think she'd married a younger man who I think was an Italian socialite or something like that, and she was at that fundraiser, and I met her there. She was very polite to me. This is going back to 2015. This is pre even the announcement of Trump running for president.
Do you think that marriage was different from his marriage to Melania?
Be hard for me to speculate on that because I didn't know them. I didn't interact with them. I interacted with the president when he was with Melania, at the Robin Hood dinners, at the Yankee games. I went to some of these CNBC, NBC parties related to The Apprentice. Again, all of that stuff predating his presidential announcement. So I had a better bird's eye view of them. I didn't really have a bird's eye view of Ivana Trump with Donald Trump. But I would say this, if there's a type of woman, the woman that Trump is going for is going to be subservient, and like everybody else is going to be more or less a lackey of his. And remember, people are transactions to Donald Trump. They're not people. If you said, is Donald Trump psychologically minded? Would he look at the two of you as three-dimensional human beings? He would not. He would look at you as transactions in his field of vision, and if you were saying something nice about him, he would be flattering to you, and if you were saying something bad about him, he would put you in an AI rendition of a Bud Light commercial as a transvestite. That's what he does. It's very black and white with him. Is Trump a misogynist? That's a question you haven't asked me, but I'm going to answer it. He's a full-on misogynist. No question about that. He doesn't have a if you really love women, and I mean really love women, then you accept all of the subtleties, the complexities, and the imperfections. And if I was going to ever write, maybe I'll write this book, and then after I'm dead, Joanna, you'll live a lot longer than me. You can help my kids get it published. But the title of my book, it would be a bestseller, is that straight men love cellulite. And that would be the best-selling book of my career.
That would be a fantastic book. I would read that.
I just bought it on Amazon.
Okay. So let me explain that, though, because I think it's important to understand that, because straight men love every aspect of their women. They love the imperfections. They love if there's a, up and down mood or whatever it could be, and they accept the full package, including the imperfections of their body. Okay, but there's something about Donald Trump where he needs it's almost an exaggeration. It's almost a male overbite. It's like a hyper masculinity to try to prove something to somebody. Okay, and so straight men don't have that overbite. Okay, and I'm not saying he's not straight. I'm just saying he's weird. Okay, and by the way, I'm allowed to say that. That's my opinion. I still have the First Amendment. I look at him and I say, this guy's weird about sex. He's weird about women. Who the hell knows what he did with Jeff Epstein? He's weird. Okay, I don't know what he is, but I think he's weird. And I will just tell you that, when you're a heterosexual guy, then again, I'm not knocking people that are not. I'm just observing it as a hetero. And by the way, I didn't choose my sexuality. I didn't wake up one morning and say, I like vanilla ice cream versus chocolate. I was born with the affectations that I like, and it's just the way it is. Okay, so to me, I look at him and say, dude's weird. There's a lot of repression going on, a lot of complexity there.
And what about the second tier, the Laras and the Bettinas and the Tiffany's and the Kais? Do you have any sense of how they interact and what their goals are?
I just find that the kids are distant from them. That's what I find. I find that the kids are worried about getting on the wrong side of him. And I think that they're in a codependent relationship with him where, the money's being made at the Trump org or the Trump family level. It's filtering down to the kids, and they got to stay on the right side of him because he's the patriarch. If you want to say something derisive, he's the mob boss. He's the godfather of that family. So they got to be in line with him, and they can't do anything to upset him. So they're generally distant from him. They're not living in Washington. They moved, look at Jared and Ivanka moved to Miami. They didn't move to Palm Beach. They want to be on his good side. But I don't think they want to get too close, because when you get too close to Donald Trump, you burn up.
You burn up. What did you think of him not attending his son's wedding to Bettina, Don Jr.'s
I think he was worried about getting arrested. I don't even know if a convicted felon is allowed into the island of the Bahamas. I don't think when they did if you really want my honest opinion, I don't think
Yeah.
when they picked that venue for a wedding, they realized that that was a problem for a convicted felon to come into the country. And I think that he's not well liked in the Bahamas. And there was some political thought or ideas around him not being welcome there as a head of state and or as a ex-con or as someone that's a convicted felon. So I think it had nothing to do with him blowing Don Jr. off. If Don Jr. had done the wedding at Mar-a-Lago or in Virginia at the country club that they own, he would have probably been there. I think it was related to that more so than anything else.
Now, Nell and I are going to get into the four women competing to fill the vacuum in Trump's life. So where did this idea come from to do Trump's women? Truthfully, you and I are obsessed by them.
Yes.
We monitor their Instagrams. We get very excited when there are fresh drops of pictures. And of course, we've got new members of them. But why are they particularly interesting right now?
Well, part of it is the endless vacation. Have you noticed that? It's right
Always
now,
paddleboarding.
Bettina's in the Bahamas and Marla Maples and in Italy, and we see them all over Instagram, often in bikinis and very short dresses. So we see a lot of them, but we're only seeing what they want to show us. So it's both literally and figuratively filtered information. And so I wanted to just research, figure out who they are and what their goals are, and how, most importantly, how do they relate to Big Daddy? So let's take a scroll through some of the research, and we're calling this episode Ladies in Waiting. And look, nature abhors a vacuum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's currently a 5'11" vacuum right next to Donald Trump. In the first term, he was usually flanked by either Melania or his daughter Ivanka. They're both AWOL, right? Melania is reportedly living in two different towers. There's Trump Tower, and then supposedly she lives in a tower at Mar-a-Lago.
Which we saw at the beginning of her Melania the movie.
Oh, really? Well, she's a princess.
Did you just reveal that you haven't seen Melania the movie? Nell, Scovell. I saw it, so you didn't have to.
Thank you.
It starts with the drone shot over Mar-a-Lago and basically the tower where Melania lives.
And she's like letting her hair down.
Totally,
Perfect.
totally.
I think it's a modeling gig, which, by the way, she's 56.
It's like a contract. It's
Yeah.
like a contract. She's on a modeling contract for Trump to pretend that she's first lady.
And listen, she wasn't around that much the first time around, but then filling in for her was Ivanka. And she was always there. She had an office in the White House. She served as an advisor to the president. She claimed she was advocating for working women and families, but apparently she abandoned those families and has now distanced herself from politics, which she now calls a very dark and negative business, right? Gee, I wonder who made it that way. She's focusing on her own family and developing a luxury spa with her husband, the weekend nuclear arms negotiator, Jared Kushner. It's on Albania. And it's an island that was used during World War II. And the development is so popular that the locals have come out for the biggest protest in Albania since the Second World War.
Well, these are the flamingo protests.
Yes.
Because the island itself is home to thousands of flamingos who will be disrupted if they build this spa.
Well, it's nice she's bringing together one country.
She's uniting Albania.
She's
uniting Albania. And also she said that she discovered the island while she was on holiday with friends in their yacht. They stopped the yacht. They dove off the boat. They found this island. They climbed to the top of it in barefoot as if they were, truly exploring buccaneers, the Lewis and Clark of Albania. And that's how they found the perfect place for the property, a nature reserve.
Today, we're going to look at the contenders to fill that void. They are Lara Trump, Kai Trump, Bettina Anderson Trump, the newest Trump, and Tiffany Trump. It's not just Donald who has an insatiable need for attention. Like, these women do too. So right now there's a competition. There's an arms race.
A toned arms race. Toned arms race.
Yes, that is on display right now.
Second Amendment arms race. Right to arms.
Right to
arms.
their arms.
Yeah.
And they really, who can get the most attention from the public and from the patriarch.
So what we're looking at is the contenders for the First Lady throne, because the First Lady is essentially not there.
Right.
The daughter's disappeared. Let's start with Lara Trump. Lara has the job that nobody wants, which is to be married to Eric Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's busy looking. I mean, she's been trying to get Senate jobs here, there, and everywhere in North Carolina, Florida. I'm here. And she's been fobbed off with a show, which actually turns out to be quite successful on Weekend Fox, right?
Right. So
what do we know about
she
her?
is the hardest working of the second tier women. Lara was born in 1982 in North Carolina. Her father worked in boat manufacturing. She has a brother named Kyle UNESCO. He's a hunky triathlete. He pops up on her Instagram page. You can take a look at him now.
She's a triathlete in her spare time, right?
She's serious about her running and swimming. So Kyle also works for the U.S. government. He joined the Department of Energy in 2017, so during the first administration. He now works at NASA, where he is Deputy Chief of Staff. So Lara has said that her childhood was happy. She spent lots of time horse jumping. Still, it was not devoid of hardship. As she has admitted, she failed to make her school's junior varsity cheerleading team, which, for a tall blonde,
She failed to make junior varsity cheerleading team.
So that was devastating. She graduates from North Carolina State in 2005 with a major in communications, moves to New York, and what does she do? She takes courses in pastry making at the French Culinary Institute.
That is a good background if you want to be a senator.
Yes.
Understand how to bake things, understand ingredients, Senate. There is a connection there.
Yeah,
There is
the layers. The layers are very...
How to make things rise.
So a friend introduces her to some guy named Eric and doesn't divulge his last name. In an interview, Lara actually described how Eric wooed her, and if you would do me a favor and read her exact quote.
He looked at me and he grabbed my stomach and he goes, "Wow, you're too skinny for any of your food to taste good. You must be a horrible chef."
Her first thought is, oh, well, that's different. So negging works.
Although I'm going to say if someone said that to me on my first date, I would be fine with them thinking I had a flat stomach. But they appear to have a genuine connection, don't they? They're both tall.
Yes, what more do you need, right? So she becomes a producer for Inside Edition. And in 2014, they tied the knot at Mar-a-Lago in front of 450 guests. This is so interesting. Ivana alone walks Eric down the aisle.
Do men get walked down the aisle?
Well,
I thought it was the
often-
bride that gets
No,
walked
but
down the
often
aisle.
they're flanked by their parents. Donald's there with Melania and Barron, who is 8 years old at the time. And from reports, he was not part of the wedding party. Lara and Eric now have 2 kids who were both born during the first Trump administration. And during the campaign, Laura became a prominent surrogate, right? And in fact, Kellyanne Conway once praised her work ethic
Right.
by saying...
I've got a quote from her here. I never knew her to say no a single time. Can you work the phones for fundraising? Can we send you and your colleagues in Women for Trump to the 4 following states? Will you sit on a bus for hours? Lara never said no.
Will you sit on the bus for hours? Okay.
Yeah.
So at first, the hard work and loyalty didn't earn Lara much attention from her father-in-law. During the 2020 campaign, Donald joked to donors that he, quote, couldn't pick Lara out of a lineup.
That's so mean. He couldn't pick his daughter-in-law out of a lineup. Why is he so mean about them?
About everything.
About everything,
and
right.
everyone.
But of all the Trump women, she's the one that's the most interested in politics, right? Early on.
Yes, exactly. And she flirts with running for office. She mulls a 2022 bid for the Senate in North Carolina. But Donald won't give her his endorsement.
And do we know if that's, why is that? Why wouldn't her father-in-law give her his endorsement?
Well, I think women are supposed to be decoration. They're not supposed to be powerful. Maybe he's partially protecting Melania, too. He doesn't want any of the other Trump women to be more powerful than the First Lady.
Maybe Eric said to him, I don't want Lara out of the house in North Carolina. Can you just whisper to her that this is not going to happen?
She tries again. She's thinking when Marco Rubio was named Secretary of State of now running in Florida. But again, she doesn't get his blessing. And
she doesn't get Trump's blessing a second time.
Yeah. So to me, I see it as, in one way, she's fulfilled her childhood dream. She has become the ultimate cheerleader. But she doesn't get to take the field. Her consolation prize, though, is she gets a show on Fox. She regularly interviews her father-in-law, who she calls Mr. President, and asks hard-hitting questions like, you're doing so much to beautify Washington, D.C. You have the triumphal arch. Tell me about that.
Right, so it's a sucky-uppy show to Trump, but nevertheless, it's actually doing quite well.
It is, and you know who else is doing well? Is her husband has become a billionaire over the past 2 years, thanks to all the crypto schemes. She's got a couple of side hustles. She writes children's books. She also has a line of athleisure wear. Is that what it's called?
Athleisure, yeah.
Yes, and it's patriotic.
Tight-fitting. It's tight-fitting.
And she gets to model it, which she seems to enjoy.
Well, we've got this beautiful picture of her here looking unbelievably trim.
And look how happy she looks, too. And then the last point I want to make about her...
For those who aren't watching this, for people who can't see it, Lara Trump is... I mean, I've never seen more muscles on a woman. She looks incredible. And she's got a crop top on, a red crop top with a red stars and stripes, and then USA across her crop top. Obviously, it's sleeveless. Damn, she looks good.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is a paddleboard. She's very fit. She looks like she goes to the gym with a mission in mind. She's much fitter looking than Eric. She's more ambitious of the two, right?
I think so. She fulfilled a dream in 2023. She took a shot at becoming a pop star and released a very nasally, dirge-like cover of Tom Petty's I Won't Back Down. We like our listeners, so we're not going to play any of it for them. But if you want to find it, it's on the internet. Tom Petty's family issued a formal cease and desist letter to the campaign over them using the song. Laura's version actually did reach number 10 on Billboard's digital song sales chart.
Well, I wonder if the Petty family got anything from that. So she just used the family and then it got into the Billboard Top 10. Didn't she also release a duet?
Oh, I was
Hero.
hoping to spare people from this. Again,
No,
you
it's
can
got
find
some of my favorite lyrics of all time, actually. I've got two sets of lyrics. This added to them. The first is that Ruby, don't take your love to town, which the lyric is, it's hard to love a man whose legs are bent and paralyzed. But Lara has actually topped it with, you're climbing up the ladder and the screams are getting louder. And this is her song for Hero Fireman. I'm just going to read that again. You're climbing up the ladder and the screams are getting louder. I think that might be part of her fantasy to be rescued by an FDNY. You're not alone, Lara. You're not alone. And we see you. We see you've tried for 2 Senate seats. We know that you're the most ambitious of the Trump women, and you still kept being pushed down. The screams are getting louder, Lara. Your screams are getting louder, but we've heard them. We've heard them.
So now we're going to jump a generation and talk about Kai Trump. Kai Trump made her public debut with her father, Don Jr., introducing her at the 2024 Republican National Convention. Before we get to that, I want to mention 2 quick things.
Mm-hmm.
One, she was born in 2007, so she's 1 year younger than Barron Trump, who is technically her uncle.
That's funny, Uncle Barron.
It also raises the question, why didn't Barron give a speech at the convention, right? And then the second thing is Kai appeared wearing this dress, and I just want to show this.
This, I think, her grandfather would adore, this dress, right? A lot of skin, very short, high heels. I mean, she's very pretty. She's a very pretty member of the Trump family, and she's got a kind of charisma that I think is unusual for someone her age.
But don't you think the dress is like a sexy spin on a purity gown?
Well, it's the white,
Yeah.
right? The white that's sort of fascinating. And she's very tanned like her grandfather. She also plays golf, right? She's the golfer in the family, as she mentions at the RNC in her speech.
When we play golf together, if I'm not on his team, he'll try to get inside of my head. I know. And he's always surprised that I don't let him get to me. But I have to remind him, I'm a Trump too.
She's got good vibes with the audience.
She does. And, she made him a grandfather, which I imagine he didn't love. She also made Melania a step-grandmother, which I bet she hated. And Kai was raised mostly in New York, but moved to Florida with her mom, Vanessa, when she was 13 years old. She's off to the University of Miami in Florida to play golf. And so this is interesting because it's a little hard to know how good she is without her home court advantage. In 2024, Kai was the winner of the Ladies Club Championship at Trump International Palm Beach.
Mm-hmm.
But in March 2025, when she entered the Junior Invitational in South Carolina, she came in last.
Oh, she came in. So a bit like Donald, home court advantage. Home court advantage. And her parents are divorced, of course, and she has a new stepmom.
And so when she says, I'm a Trump too, I think she actually lives up to that. Her love life is a secret. She did tell one podcaster that dating is, quote, really awkward and a little weird. Why? Because Secret Service agents sit a couple of tables away during her dates. But she has a very smart fix. She says she pretends they're not there. So she also has the family's gift for just bending reality. Kai is already on her way. She has a very popular YouTube channel with 1.5 million subscribers. And she offers these very tone-deaf glimpses of her daily life. In one, she goes to this very expensive grocery store, Erewhon, and racks up $223 worth of groceries. And had the gall to tell her subscribers to like and subscribe, please. I need to make back my money somehow. So, meanwhile, through her brand deals, her name, image, and likeness is already valued at over $2 million, which is the highest of any college woman golfer.
So there's a sort of almost a Kardashian-esque quality to this group of women, right? They've each got their own brand. They're big into athleisure. They all look very similar. And of course, the interesting thing for Kai is Kai's parents are now divorced. Her mum, Vanessa, is going out with Tiger Woods, and her father has just married Bettina Anderson, who I am fascinated by. Do tell.
Well, she came out of the gate hot. And would you do me a favor and read her Father's Day social media post from
I
this
would.
year?
I was hoping you would ask. Father's Day with POTUS, surrounded by his children and almost all of the grandkids. A beautiful reminder of what matters most. Faith, family, love and legacy, heart. So grateful for these moments together and for the joy of watching generations gathered around a father, grandfather and leader who continues to give so much of himself and to his family and his country.
I mean, that is a level of sycophancy that she should be in the cabinet.
She should be in the cabinet. Come on, DHS. Bettina, she's got just as much experience as Christine Ohm, Ice Barbie.
Well, Bettina did go to Columbia University.
So she's a smarty pants.
She is a smarty pants. She used to date billionaire Ken Griffin, but that didn't last. And she's posting like crazy on Instagram, tons of photos of her kissing her new husband. And
well, someone's got to do it. What one is struck by these people is the craving for attention, the craving for attention.
And yet, when Bettina and Don Jr. got married in the Bahamas this year, who was not at their wedding? His father.
Right, the boss.
Or the stepmother. And that sends a message. What do you I actually am not sure. I have one theory, which is Bettina really does kind of look like Melania, like 10 years younger. Bettina is 38, so she's actually, more than 10 years younger. And I wonder if Donald's jealous.
Oh, Donald Sr. is jealous of Donald Jr. I mean, he said he couldn't go to the wedding because he had a little thing called Iran going on, but we know that hasn't stopped him from doing anything else. I mean, Michael Wolff's point of view on it is that he wouldn't want to go because he wouldn't be center of attention and he doesn't care about his kids.
Well, and it also, I tie it into, Eric walking down the aisle with Ivana. So Bettina is a twin. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
She has a twin sister named Christina. Their mother was a model. Their father was named Harry Anderson Jr., and he became president of the Palm Beach National Bank and Trust at the age of 26.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing, right? Until you learn
what are you
that
say?
Harry Anderson Sr.
Yeah.
was president of the First Federal Savings and Loan, which was Palm Beach County's largest financial institution. So she's a little Nepo baby, too. Her father's clients were the cream of Palm Beach society, including one Jeffrey Epstein.
Oy, oy, oy.
And her father's name appears in the files. A client of Jeffrey Epstein's sent him the obituary. Her father did die quite young. She grows up beautiful, blonde, rich, tall. But what does she really want to be? This is my favorite thing about Bettina Anderson. She really wants to be funny. And if you look at her Instagram pre-marrying Trump,
which might be the funniest gag of all,
she's quipping like crazy. If you're trying to impress me with your vehicle, it better be a food truck.
Well, that's quite a good line.
Tres leches en esta economía, feeling lazier than the guy who designed the Japanese flag. Very funny. Also, not her jokes. and she doesn't attribute them to the writers who actually did write them. So,
Okay, this is bringing back a piece that you wrote for us,
Yeah.
pointing this out, that actually she's a joke stealer.
she is, and we've heard of stolen valor. This is what we call stolen charisma. And she fits right into this family.
She fits right into this family. So does she have aspirations politically, do you think? I mean, what does she do as a job? Is she just literally a socialite?
Yeah, yeah, and philanthropist, if that is a job. I think she would love to get closer to the president, is my sense.
Interesting. So she's sort of she's got that socialite stealth ambition. She's not like Lara, who's wearing on her athleisure. When she met Don Jr., he was actually engaged to,
Oh, Kimberly Guilfoyle.
and perhaps among the most fascinating of the Trumps, because she was actually married to Gavin Newsom. I mean, I have a friend that used to hang out with them, and, she says Kimberly was just completely different then, but it was very clear that she had her eye on the main chance. She was always moving, a bit like a shark.
Well, shark meet shark.
Shark meet shark. So Don Jr. was engaged to Kimberly Guilfoyle, met Bettina, broke off the engagement, married Bettina.
So this brings us to the last of the group, and this is Tiffany Trump.
Tiffany Trump.
Trump's fourth child, second daughter, and the only offspring of his very short marriage to Marla Maples. From the beginning, Tiffany was seen differently from her siblings. She was conceived out of wedlock, and apparently it was unplanned because when Trump learned that his then girlfriend was pregnant, his response was, "Excuse me, what happened?"
Do you think that, why don't these men just wear condoms?
I
mean, Stormy Daniels
Right.
complained that he didn't wear a condom, but why are they surprised when women get pregnant if they won't wear the occasional condom?
I don't know. They can afford to get abortions for their mistresses. By the way, his bestest buddy on the planet at the time insisted Maples was lying about the pregnancy to trap his friend into marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That would be one Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, Jeffrey Epstein's resurfaced. So when he wasn't with Bettina Anderson's father, he was with Donald Trump advising him on how to handle Marla Maples saying she was pregnant. But she was pregnant.
So 2 months after Tiffany's born, her parents married in Florida. It kind of seems like either Trump was waiting to make sure Tiffany was real. But to be fair, when she was born, I want to be clear, he said, "This is the most amazing experience I've ever had. Marla looked absolutely beautiful, and the baby is gorgeous."
That must have been very offensive to Ivana.
Yeah. And also gorgeous. Babies are adorable.
Right.
I don't know, a gorgeous baby.
It didn't last long, the marriage.
And 4 years later, Marla and Donald separate. She moves to Calabasas, which is also where
The Kardashians live.
the divorce is finalized. Maples receives about $2 million, and Trump is on the hook for about $100,000 annual in child support until Tiffany turns 21. So Tiffany attends UPenn and graduates with a degree in sociology, which we know is the science of studying that which is obvious. And then she goes and she gets a law degree. Despite not growing up under her father's thumb, she shows zero signs of rebelling. She campaigns for her father in 2016. And by 2020, she's fully in the fold. She did not have Ivanka's chops for public speaking. Let's watch a little bit of her appearance at a Tried Pride campaign in October 2020.
Prior to politics, he supported gays, lesbians, the LGBTQIA plus community, okay? I have friends of mine who reach out and they say they make up stories. how would you support your father? We know we know your best friends are gay. We know your best friends are this. I say, it's because my father has always supported all of you.
So does Tiffany have a job?
She is a mother now. She never sat for the bar, even though she did graduate from law school. Her father claimed she graduated number 1 in her class, although she wasn't on the list of honor students, so we're not sure. Yeah, she got married. She meets her husband, Michael Boutros, in Mykonos in 2018 at Lindsay Lohan's private beach club. I do want to point out, since we have a theme of weddings, that they were married at Mar-a-Lago, and her father walked her down the aisle. Stepmother Melania also attended Tiffany's wedding. Subtly subversive. Let's look at this photo. There's Melania standing next to Tiffany. What is she wearing?
So she's wearing cream. But what's fascinating about them is how tall they are, because Lara Trump is 6 foot.
They're all very tall. Marla Maples is there. And by the way, I looked for other photos with both Marla and Melania, and this is it, I think.
This is the only photo. But what's so extraordinary is how, A, they look very similar. They have an incredible, they're like 5 sirens.
Tiffany looks beautiful. We can say that. But, here's the thing. They're all decoration. And, to me, they're like that. You know how Trump goes around sticking those gold Home Depot tchotchkes all over the walls? I mean, that's what these women are. They pop up by his side as decoration.
So Tiffany at home with her baby, Marla Maples doing breathy Instagram videos.
Right.
Lara is the only one that's working.
Yeah.
Who's got a job on Fox as a presenter.
She's the North Carolina workhorse.
North Carolina workhorse.
So do you want to guess who's got the most followers on Instagram?
On Instagram, I imagine it's Ivanka.
It is. She has 8.7 million. She's followed by Kai, who has just over 3 million. Lara has almost 3 million. Tiffany, good going, Tiff. She's got almost 2 million. And Bettina Trump, she's got a ways to go.
Oh, no, what's Bettina got?
230,000.
Come on, Bettina.
You can do it.
She's the new one, though. She's the new one. She hasn't been doing it as long.
Yeah.
I mean, she's probably got a growth rate that's up and to the right. Who is most likely to replace Melania in terms of she's just not there? If Trump needs a woman, who could he rely on here?
For now, I would say Lara has the inside edge. The only problem is she's a little bit too thirsty. I think Bettina might be a little too smart. Tiffany, I don't see it. But remember at the end of Game of Thrones when they picked Bran Stark and everyone was like, what? Him?
Right.
Could be her.
So she could be a dark horse. But what about Kai?
Well, Kai has said that she is not interested in politics. So we'll see about that.
If you have been, thank you for joining us. Nell Scovell, thank you so much for joining us. Big thanks to Ryan Murray, John Romero, Heather Passaro, Rachel Passer, and Neil Rosenhaus.
So the good news is we have so many B-Beast tier members now. There are too many names to read out, and we really appreciate your support.